You didn't speak to me. Why didn't she speak to me? Okay. I didn't hear it say recording, but it is recording. Okay. Um, Let me share. Okay, so this is the document I created for you. If you have any issues about Excel, let me know, okay? What I did was create the top cell where I want you to type your question. Actually, I should merge all of these here so you can write your question across the top. All right, put your question in there and you can modify it, all right? As you see, you can improve it with what you've got. You're going to modify it. So what we're going to do is you're going to do this for 10 papers to start. And then we're going to check it. How are we going to check it? We're going to check, well, I'll tell you later. I don't want to tell you now. So if you need wider column, pull them wide. What I said here, let's go through each one. Okay, so these you're going to get out of the Google Scholar, right? Author, title, journal, and the actual citation. Put the year published, that's important. And then if the first, oh, sorry, the statement here is research question studied if unclear from the title. So you're kind of going to lean on the title or the author as you're going through the papers. I guess you can make a list 1, 2, 3 as well. Let's put a ID numbering. Oh, I didn't tell you what key means either, did I?
Verano.
I didn't tell you what key means. I'm going to change this a bit, revise it a bit. So you can pick up paper 1, paper 2. Um, all right, so key is later. You're going to put there once you've read them, more or less. You're going to identify if the article you found is a seminal article, just with a star. This is honestly, this is just a suggestion. I've created this just to get you started. If you want to change the columns or add columns, that's fine with me. But for now, this is what I'm suggesting you do. You can also make well, you could add a column like for, most popular or most important article to the least, but we can do that later. So if it's a key article, you put a star on it, and that's useful if you have like, 50, 100 papers to identify the key ones. Why are we even doing this Excel spreadsheet? It's because you're going to read a lot of papers and you're going to forget. 10 is not hard to forget which paper said what, but it's already pushing it. How are you going to remember? I read so many things. I can't remember where I saw this, I saw that. So that's one reason to do this. Another one is to help you identify patterns. So let's go through this and I'll explain that more. So these columns here are going to come right out of your use of Google Scholar, right? Did anybody have trouble or did anybody encounter any questions about using Google Scholar? Because I did it pretty fast, and I know you guys have abilities to follow. It's a lot of material, and I wonder if you have any questions, please let me know. So those few columns you should get out of your export table. You can put those in. And then the research question studied. So if the research question in the paper you've read is very different from the title, or you want to express here the research question, you can put it there, okay? Because sometimes they have some clever title and you don't really know what the topic was, and you put the research question covered here. All these papers should be slightly different. They shouldn't be all the same thing. There were 5 themes in the one that I searched yesterday, and maybe they emphasized one theme more than another, or they had additional themes. You can you can mention that. Well, that should come across in the columns. If it doesn't, we'd have to create another column to make that point. Search strategy use. So the search strategy that I used would be the standard search strategy, and I don't have a column for that. So either you could put a search strategy in or put the one that you use right here. So like, let me put it in just to show you what I'm talking about. Um, no, where am I going to get that from? Hold on. Oh, maybe if I go back. Okay, there it is. So I could just plop in the one that you used here for the first, and you see you can't see it well, right? But what you do is you say format, uh, format cells, alignment, and make sure it's wrap text. So that way it doesn't cut off. You can actually see it. And then you have to adjust it so you can see the whole thing. Yeah. And it's all there. So that's the original one I use. I don't have to repeat that every time. In here I can just say, you know, like you can put number one, like use the same one as one. Just keep a record that it's the same one that you used in one. If it's different, put the new one. Okay. Then you're gonna I guess you're gonna do this later. You're gonna decide later that you're gonna use that paper or not. Actually, let me make this wider so it doesn't have to be so deep. It's too deep. Okay. All right. Then you're going to investigate journal quality. Some of you on your assignment number 1 did not investigate the journal quality. Do you remember how to do that? How do we investigate journal quality? Noelia, do you remember?
Is it the ABDC
Yeah,
website?
we can go to ABDC. I haven't mentioned other ways, like other kinds of quality lists yet. I'm just trying to make it easy at the beginning, but I'll talk about that later. But yeah, go to ABDC and get the quality of ABDC and mention that. You can say ABDC, ABDC, A paper or A star, and keep track of the papers. Not the paper, it's rating the journal. Then put the years that they studied. It's not the same as the year it was published, right? So if they did a study of the 1980s, you got to put it here. 1980 to 85 or 90 to 2005, put the years there. Then put the countries there. And here we're going to put methodology. So we're going to talk, let's see, maybe today we'll talk about data. I don't know. I feel maybe tomorrow that's going to happen. We're going to talk about methodology, but methodology. For now, when you read it, just cut and paste it. If you don't know what it means, it's fine. The cutting pasting worked for some of you on assignment 1, and some of you were just pasting the same thing. It's like it was clear you didn't understand what was what. So methodology should be like the type of regression they did, if they used data that was cross-sectional and panel. I might as well tell you now, what's the difference between cross-section data and panel data? Does anybody know? Can you get?
I think panels like different categories and crosses like in the same category. Isn't that correct?
Okay, search it. You know what? Put in the search bar, just say cross-sectional study, panel study, and see what you get, and then I'll tell you. So look it up yourself and try and get an image. It's better with an image. And then I'll clarify. So cross-sectional study, panel study. I'll try to get the best image. So I have one, but everything's changed in the last few years, so I have to update my materials. Changed in the sense that there's so many more resources now. That's a pretty good definition. All right. Let's see if I get a good. Yeah, this is a pretty good picture. Okay, let me show you. Well, actually, tell me. See, let's see if you can improve your. Und yeah, let's see if anybody else can add. Oh, you put in the chat. Sure, put in the chat. No, Robert, I want cross-sectional and panel. Cross-sectional and panel. Those are the two different, not cross-sectional and sectional. I'm going to give you guys, I know there's a whole series of statistics videos that are very useful, but anyway, hopefully I don't have to bring that in. And it's not time consuming. Just a few videos. I think I recommended them when I did my stats review for intermediate finance last semester, but okay, so you guys aren't writing in the chat. Any comments? Okay, let me just tell you. Let me show you this. Well, let me tell you first. Okay, let's say we wanted to study, we can talk about a person or we can talk about a stock. Let's say we wanted to study a student and their development over time. Okay, so we want to study their development, how they change their or improve their abilities over time in school. So let's say we just wanted to study their performance over time. And obviously they're learning different things, but maybe there's a way to look at if they're, smarter over time or improving over time. So if we want to look at a person over time, that's a longitudinal study. Longitudinal. I'll put it in the chat. So longitudinal. Studying subjects. A subject. So that could be a person, it could be. So we're going to study a person over time and not we usually don't waste resources just to study one person. We study a sample of people over time, right? So it looks like it looks like this here. So this is our group. These are all different people. And we're going to survey, we're going to sit them down, we're going to subject them to some survey, ask them some questions. We're going to do it every January 15 over 3 years, let's say, or 4 years of their program, the first 4 years of their program. So we're going to do that. And then the next January 15 of the next year, we're going to do the same thing. And then next January, we're going to do the same thing. That's a longitudinal study. We collect data from the same group of subjects over an extended period of time. So you guys can understand, let's say I did this for a set of stock, okay? But for 100 stock or shares, there's 100 companies. I looked at their stock. I looked at their returns in 1 month, and then I look at the returns in another month, and I follow them over time. That would be a longitudinal study. If I just look at 1 year, if I just take 1 year, that's called a cross-section study. So it's like slicing it up, cross-section. Usually think about an orange and slicing it cross-sectionally and just seeing one, not all. Now, why would we do a cross-sectional study if we could do a longitudinal study? It depends what we're trying to study, right? The main reason you're going to see, or the main reason you're going to see cross-sectional studies is it's easy. You're doing it in a one shot and collecting all this information and studying it like that and getting a large enough sample size at one point in time. Because longitudinal study, it's hard to find the same people. People move, people aren't interested, people die, things happen, you lose touch. So it's difficult to study people over a long period of time. In terms of finance data, it's convenient that we can follow companies over time, but probably you want to study companies that are reliable, right? That they exist for 1 year to the next, or 1 month to the next. Finance data, if nothing else, it can be studied because it's readily available. You have stability among pick companies that are going to exist for a while, so you're going to be able to study them over a long period of time. So there's a proliferation. There's lots of research on financial data for that reason. Okay, so that's to understand your data is really important. So you're going to mention in your paper, is the study longitudinal or is it cross-section? Longitudinal data is also called panel data when you're studying many variables. So you're giving them a survey and then you're collecting many items, variables about the people over time. Or collecting, so if you're just doing time series about returns, that's just one variable. But if you're looking at companies and you're looking at a bunch of different factors, revenues, debt, returns, all of that, those are many variables, that would be called a panel. Okay, so it's a panel when you have many variables on many companies over many years. Got it? Back to my Excel spreadsheet. All right, so that's a methodology. You can mention the type of regression and the kind of data you have. Speaking of statistical methods, panel data analysis is the results are considered, if you can have data and you can have information, all that data consistently over time, you can have results that are more meaningful, more significant. And we can talk more about that when we go through the regression analysis. So panel data analysis is very popular. Okay, so here you're going to put your independent variables. So I mentioned some things we might look at before. In your papers, you should be able to identify the factors that you believe are influencing something else. So could any of you in the papers that you've read so far identify and tell me examples of independent and dependent variables? Are you there yet? I did ask you that question on assignment 1. Let me see. Let's see who I can pull up. So what did you guys say about independent and dependent variables on assignment 1? Okay, so here's one. Okay, dependent variable, what they're trying to, the researchers are trying to study is wealth accumulation. And then independent variables are looking at individual. So the subjects are, I think it was a longitudinal study. So they're looking at subjects over time. So wealth accumulation over time. So it's a panel that they're looking at I think, well, I'm not sure. I didn't read this paper, but the independent variables that's listed is propensity to plan. But then there were other variables that were entered into the analysis as controls against confounding variables, like if the person was married, the number of children, and factors like that. Those are all propensity to plan, marital status, number of independent children are all independent variables. The dependent one they're trying to predict is wealth accumulation. So people who have children will plan to have more money and accumulate more wealth. So that's why we have to control across people for their whether they're married or have children. So we just want to look at their planning, their ability to plan as the key variable of interest, the explanatory variable of wealth accumulation. All right, so that's the idea there. So I put a bunch of different terms here. So independent could be called predictors, factors. That's how you'll find it referred to in the paper. And explanatory variables. And the dependent variable could be called response variable, endpoint, outcome. Okay, then I have this, this is a column of results. So here you're going to say, I actually should stress that I want you to focus on, you're going to continue, you are going to be conducting a regression analysis. If your paper is not a regression analysis, you will judge if that's okay or not okay. All right. You don't want to go too far off track. We don't have that much time. So you're going to try and stick to methodologies that are regression, and there's a variety of different types of regression analysis. So you can put the kind of regression that was analyzed there. And all this is going to make sense when I talk about the statistics. It'll make more sense, let's say. So you're going to put the results. What kind of results would be here? Well, you can mention in words, or you can mention the variables. So you could say my variable, so the independent variable I hope this is not too small. Let me make this bigger. Let me know at any point if you can't see what I'm doing. Why can't I make it bigger? Okay. Okay, so this is my, so let's say I want to put in the effect. And I put that. So what am I doing? So in this paper, let's say, was the one I was talking about, where the variable of interest was wealth accumulation. And the independent variable was propensity to plan. That's the main one. But then I have others, like I just mentioned marital status. Okay, married. And number of children. I'm going to put them all up like that. So those are my variables, propensity to plan, and I put a plus here. What do you think that means? What am I putting a plus there for? What did my research find? Let's say this was the paper. Anyone want to guess? It's better if you guess. Let's see. Robert, why did I put a plus here? What do I mean here?
Maybe it's that it's an increase in the planning.
What does it cause?
It causes more wealth
There you go.
accumulation.
That's all. Perfect. Thank you. So that's what it means. It means there's a positive relationship between propensity to plan and wealth accumulation. That was the finding. And then you would put the other ones. So marital status, so married. What if I put a plus? What does that mean? It's a tricky one. Let's put negative for fun. I'm just making this up. Okay, so married means if, so I define a variable married or not married. If the person's married, they have more wealth accumulation. Okay. Number of children. If they have more children, they have less wealth accumulation. So let's say that's the result that showed that more children made them lose wealth. And we control for these variables. We put all of these in here because regression has the ability to separate and create marginal effects. I'm going to be able to know the propensity to plan holding these other constant. And I'll talk about that either today if we have time. I feel like we're going to have time. Or tomorrow. We're going to talk about what I'm talking about. Holding variables constant and just looking at the isolated effects. Okay, here mention the data source. It probably should have been earlier, but mention the data source, the name of the database. A lot of you were good at that for the assignment number 1. So put the data source, the sample size. If they did many regressions and put them all here, the years that they studied, did I already have that? No, I mentioned it here. Oh, Okay, I repeated. Let me erase that. I'm gonna have to upload this. You're gonna have to download this revised one. Sample size. Okay, theories and theoretical framework. And then if there was a conceptual framework, that's something else we're going to talk about this week. It'll be soon anyway. And then any highlights and quotes that you grab from the article that you could possibly use in your paper, okay? That you think are really important. Conclusions or statements or observations. And then any comment if it was difficult to find. Aha. So this is what we're going to do today, is talk about finding these articles to read them. That's what we're going to do. So you're going to make a note here to remember if it was hard to find, if and how you got it, or I don't know. If there's any comments about the article itself. Okay, you understand all of these? I'm just going to talk about getting the articles next. No questions for me? All right, let's go to getting the articles. Okay, tell me how many of you actually started downloading articles? Put it in the chat. You don't have to feel bad if you didn't start yet. Just let me know if you started. You can brag a bit. Nobody? Okay. Okay, Robert has a few. Okay, that's it. All right, so let's go. You guys are busy. Okay. Okay, let's talk about finding articles. Okay, so you guys are staring. This is where we started last with our search. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to grab some articles again. Or do I still have them saved? Okay, I still have them in my library. Here they are. And I picked 4. No. What happened? Why do I have so many? Oh, I had to go to my list. That's right. Thank you, Anthony. Told me that. So I have to go to my list. All right. Oh, and they're all available. Look at that. I didn't want that. I want ones that are not available. Okay, let's go through them and see what we can do. So I'm going to click here. And okay, so this is the actual article. Sometimes you won't get the actual article, you'll get a draft, okay? You'll get a draft version. You should really try and find the actual published article. So using data from a randomized controlled trial in Uruguay, we evaluate the impact of an economic and financial education program targeted to senior high school students. The program is based on an innovative, playful approach workshop about monetary policy and financial supervision. We find that that workshop, hold on, let me make a note here. So these people actually went ahead and collected their own data, the results of, the impact of the training or the education program. And our results shed light on importance of economic and financial education for youth in developing countries. Very nice. So they got primary data. As I mentioned, we have a very short time to actually work with collecting data. So you would have to make, first of all, you have to take a course, okay? Whenever you work with humans in research, you have to get certification to work with human subjects. And it's harder, you know, the level of difficulty in getting ethics approval is what you require to actually interact with human subjects. The approval is more difficult, the more invasive the experiment is. So if you're just teaching them something and then testing their knowledge or their aptitude before and after, that's not so bad, but you need to do it in a specific way and get approval for the way that you're doing it. Okay, that's known as ethics approval through internal review board. I'm going to put it in the chat. And you actually have to do that. There's a course. This is all in the notes, but I'll put it in the chat for now. So you guys aren't going to be able to do that, okay? This is not going to be possible. There's no time. It takes the board only sits certain like once a month, if at all, and then if they take your 30-page document, you have to fill a form that's like 30 pages, and they'll take that document and they find problems with it, they have to send it back to you. You have to wait another month. So we don't have time for that. But I need to tell you about it, okay? That's part of research. I'm putting it in the chat. So ethics approval is required to work with human subjects, or to experiment, I should say. Certification. Training has to take place every 5 years. I have to update my training, actually. Okay, so I'll give you more details on that. At the UPR, there's an office. I'll just put the names. The DEHI and has a department or an internal review board, IRB, known as SIPSHI. All these acronyms for you. I'll just give you the website. You don't have to do this. Like I said, I just have to tell you about it because it's part of research. And it can be done in finance research, as you see in this paper. Okay, I'm putting it. All right, so every university oversees approving research projects. In fact, at some point, I was told that all students need to be cleared. Even if they're not working with human subjects, their research has to be cleared by the IRB, but you have to fill a form that makes you exempt if you plan to publish your research, okay? So you guys aren't going to publish this right off the bat. Maybe you will, but if you will, then we'll go back through the process and I'll walk you through it. Okay. So that's just some information for you, and I give you the website, and you can get an idea there, and all the documents are there, but we're not going to have to do that. So back to my paper. Okay. The program is based on innovative, playful. Okay, so what was I doing here? So this paper is available. I can just download it. I want to see here about the methodology. So, I mean, I would have to read the whole thing. So here's your literature review. Look how it does it. Literature review in advance, and it just explains other people who did research like this, and it distinguishes how this project is different from ones previously completed. Description of the workshops. Now they give some background on what the workshops were, what training was done. And then let's look at the analysis that was done. Methodology, look at that. In this paper, we use a random controlled trial implementation of program in 2019 to assess how effective this program of workshops is to improve high school student economic and financial competence. Not confounded with unobserved variables that can impact. What is this talking about, unobserved variables? Again, these are, so if we know that there's variables that can influence our dependent variable, and we can control for them, like in the example I made up, where we're going to include marital status and number of children, because we can collect that information, we can put that in our analysis and control against it. When we're doing a large study. In these kinds of studies, you know, and there could be other variables that don't get included in your analysis because you can't observe them, that but happen to influence your outcome. So, for example, there's other variables like we don't know why it is students or human beings or families can't accumulate wealth, but others can. Okay, so there's some variables we just can't identify. We got to be careful about not letting those factors influence our study design. So let's say it was the case that people who are okay, let's work with this example. Let's say we're conducting this, and there's a group of people who, let's say people who are just not who are just a little bit shy, right? They're more introverted. They're introverted, and they don't even want to fill in our survey. They don't want to be part of our study. They don't talk to people, all right? So we don't end up collecting data on them. They don't want to even be involved. So our study ends up being filled with people who are outgoing and ambitious. And so that's a missing variable that's not in our study that has actually, because of the very nature of people, is completely ignored. Our sample is actually biased because it doesn't include those people. All right. So that is an example of an unobserved variable. We're not even going to be able to capture it in our study. So we have to be aware that there's, the limitations of our study are really important. Anyway, so this might or might not be a paper that you include, because remember, we want to do a regression analysis, and I think this doesn't have a regression analysis. This is just going to have this is an experiment that we're not even going to be able to do experiments, but there might be information here about for the literature review, but maybe not for developing a methodology, because we're not going to use this kind of methodology. So anyway, we were able to get the paper, everything's fine. We download it, we decide if we're going to include it or not, and we make a note in our spreadsheet if it's going to be included among our literature. You can put it in, and then at the end, when you've done your 10, if you're not satisfied, you can find another one. All right, let me go back to my search. So this empties. Hey, I can probably get this one. I got to get one that I want to find one that I can't get. Okay, so this one went right to my computer. And there it is. Okay, so that's not a challenge. And I have to go through the qualification too. You want to use reliable research with good journal qualifications. Okay, I can get all of these as a matter of fact. Okay, now I want to try and get one I can't get. Again. All right, so let me get one. Let me find one I can't get. Let me go back. Have you guys run into this? Have you found, is there a paper you can't download? So let's do this one. Assessment of antecedents of financial literacy among young adults, hybrid, ISM, no developing countries. Gen Z, young adults, developing countries, millennials. That's pretty good that you guys have money management. I'm just looking at the empty ones. Okay, here. So this one has no link here. I'm going to try pressing here. Let me, yeah, let me just go this way. Okay, I can get it here. All right, so I'm kind of stuck. It shows me, oops. It gives me the abstract and it gives me some stuff here, but where's the paper? So I got to try and find the paper. Log in via institution. So what do I do? Does anybody know? How do I get this paper? If I really want it, I read the abstract. I think I really need this paper. What do I do? You go into the university system, the BAE UPR-RP. You go to the library. Let me give you that link. Biblioteca Administración de Empresas. What is going on with our websites have been changing and I can't keep up. Sistema. Okay, that's the one I usually use. Sistema. It still looks different. Every website I'm opening is different. Sistema. Well, this looks like it. It looks completely different than it did the last time I looked. I think that's some sort of blog. Okay. Oh no. What is going on? Are you guys finding it? Very strange. I know they were updating it, but yesterday,
I put a link in the chat.
yeah.
Maybe it's that one.
So yeah, that's the one. That's perfect. I couldn't find it. You know what? Maybe because I'm outside. Okay, you guys grab that link in the chat. Thank you, Robert. This is it. All right, so what do you see? Do you see what I see? No, that's not it. Did it again. Okay, great. And you see here the line for búsqueda. So this is great. This is going to go into all the databases. This should be a search of all databases. You can go database by database. Let me just show you that. So you see, there's different databases that we subscribe to from A to Z. You can imagine there's all these, and a few of them are specific to economics and finance. If you use the search bar, it'll go through all of them at once. It's an advanced search. So, oh no, it's a cumulative search. They used to have a different name for it, but anyway, it goes through all the databases. And what you're going to put there is either the title, I think the title is the best thing for the article, or look for the journal itself. So the title of the article, I have a feeling it's not here. Okay, so gender differences in financial literacy. So I'm going to put it in quotes. Quotes are important. Again, we learned about quotes, how it keeps everything together, right? Behavior is spelled differently. It's probably a British or Canadian or Commonwealth journal. As they use a U for behavior. Okay, so it's looking, and did it find it? Gender differences in financial behavior. This is it here. This one, right? So you couldn't get it for free. You have to go inside our system that pays subscriptions to get it. Did you guys try the process? If you can't get in, it's going to ask you for your student number or something to enter. Did you get that request? So if I go to view full text, I have to sign in. For me, you guys are going to put a student number. I get to put my name. And you get in. Any questions about this so far? Okay. Okay, I actually got it. That was seamless. Okay, so everybody okay? Everybody could download this, or then you download with this thing here, and it should download the whole article, but you need to check because sometimes it doesn't work the way you think. Oh, it's slow. And you're going to rename it the way that I showed you when I gave you your paper. Sharif, Adzadeh, and Turner. You're going to put them in the title. If there's too many, you use the et al, which is like, and the rest of them. There are some rules about when to shorten the authors, but I can just do Sharif and al. And then the year, which is 2020. And there it is. Okay, so I renamed it, and I have my article now. Let's see if it downloaded properly. Yep. All right, so What if you cannot get it from Sistema? What do? You want the article, you really think it's going to be important. What do you do? You know? So what you're going to do is go here on the same initial page for the biblioteca and go to Servicios and go to Préstamo Interbibliotecarios. And mine doesn't open. It doesn't. Oh, oh. They're changing something. It won't open. Can you open it, you guys? Mine doesn't open. Well, anyways, you should be able to open it and then you fill out a form requesting the article and they will give it to you. They'll find it for you. Usually they find it for you. It could be days, it could be weeks, it could be after you graduate. I don't know. Um, Sometimes they're slow, but that's an attempt. You make a full attempt of finding the article without paying money. If you really think an article is important, you could actually pay for it, but there's other things you can do before that. So anyway, this should open. I don't know why it doesn't open, but
I
like I
think
said,
you need to if you put the right on the right in solicitud de préstamo to
so
the side.
over here,
No, it's go back again.
oh here, servicio,
Yeah, and
solicitud.
no, en préstamo interbibliotecario it should be to your right.
It doesn't open. It might be blocked because I'm away. I'm not there. But anyway, you should open it. Can you show me? Can you share your screen?
It's it's there, and I don't know if I can, but it was there. It's like you put your mouse on top of it and go to the right.
It just might be blocking me because I'm out of the country. Or let me see if I have my VPN on. I'm gonna check if I have it on. I don't think it's on. But really, you guys know where to go, right? My VPN. It's not even opening. Nope. I don't know. I'm being blocked. Very strange. But okay, you guys, as long as you can see it. So it's a form. It's if you really want the article, you guys can get the article. Don't hesitate. Don't let them stop. Okay, so I've said a lot today to inform you about that sheet, the spreadsheet, how to get articles, how to decide if it's useful. Use this time to find articles that are relevant for you to run a regression. Okay, you want to know the state of research on the regression that you want to run in the research question. Um, I'm really gonna I don't know. Let's see where we go with this week. I might have you guys watch those stats videos just for a refresher about research. Maybe you didn't get a good introduction to research methods, and I find them very useful. Okay, any questions for me right now? If you want to get trained, you want to get your certificate in research, you can just do it. This is the website, the city program, Collaborative Institutional Training Initiative. And you can get a certification. You can put it on your resume. It doesn't take very long. I mean, I'm sure you guys have a lot of things to do, but if this kind of thing interests you and you want to put on your resume, maybe you want to get a job in marketing. For marketing research, you're going to have to um, do this sort of thing. Or if you really are interested in financial literacy, you're going to have to actually develop programs or be part of something like that. You'd have to get a certification to do that kind of research, to interview people, test people. Obviously, this is more important, I say more important, but it's important for people doing biological research. But any kind of human subject research requires certification. And if I go to research, I haven't been to the site in a while. It looks different. I probably have an account. But anyway, I won't get into it too much. It looks like it's for medicine, right? But in fact, anybody in academia has to do this if they interview or educate and study longitudinally research subjects or even cross-sectionally and want to publish their findings. They have to do this training. All right, I have 10 minutes. Questions for me? You guys know what you need to do for Friday? No questions?
Excuse
Now?
me. How was it that you saved the articles, the name?
Say it again?
How do you name the articles that you save?
Oh, okay, let me show you. So I use the name, hold on. So I take the author's, let me put that in. So let's see. Let's see what this is. So this is Utkarsh and these people. So Utkarsh, I'll take the name and no. So I'll put it there. It's kind of there, but you want to put at ETAL. That means like, and the other guys. Actually don't remember what it's called, but it's and associates, right? And the other fellows, and then just put the year. And this is 2020. So you name them, and then you know the authors. And first author did the most work. It's a lead or the corresponding author. Usually that's how it works. I don't know, different. At least that's how it works for the business papers. Different disciplines have different ordering schemes. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions for me? Let me say something about um let me say something about where we're headed. Okay, so the conclusion. So you already seen a bit of the by the end of the course, you're going to have a paper and it's going to include all of those components that you evaluated in the criteria, assignment one. Let's talk a bit about the structure of your papers and just what's supposed to be in it. And again, this is part of the notes I'm going to give you as soon as I get a chance to edit. We have a little time to do this. All right, let me share this. All right, so this is what your paper is going to look like. You're going to have, let me make this bigger too. So you're going to have an abstract at the beginning that summarizes your paper. It's usually you take the first, the leading statements from each section and put it in the abstract, including all the sections that are bolded below. A little bit about the introduction or the key points about the introduction, the review of the literature or literature review, the methods or methodology, the results, the discussion, and conclusion. That's usually how it's separated. You'll see as you read, you notice the pattern of the papers you're reading, okay? And then I have some details here about what goes in. Well, the abstract's going to have a little bit of each of those sections in it and summarizes your research. That's your marketing. That's your marketing bullet, your board, right? That's your marketing board. Like that's where you attract people to read your paper. And it's the same way you're going to be attracted to read papers, is that you're going to read the abstract first. But it doesn't have everything, obviously, because your paper is going to be like 35 pages, right? You're going to have 30 to 35 page paper. So obviously this is not going to have everything in it. It's just going to have the highlights. It should be 500 words. You don't have to worry about that till the day that you're going summarizing or finishing your paper. You students sometimes write that first, but that's ridiculous because you don't even know your results yet. So the introduction should include a statement of the problems. These don't have to be headings. These just have to be parts of the what's in there. The purpose of the study, your research questions and her hypotheses, and something about the conceptual or theoretical framework. So what theories are you combining or using or exploring with your research? And very briefly stated. And then any limitations of your study and maybe definitions of terms. So these are just suggestions of things that you would include, an idea of the things that need to be in the introduction. And you're going to notice this pattern as you read papers, good papers. So the review of literature should include your search strategy that you used, the long one with the code, and or, and brackets, and quotations, okay? All that I want there. Then you're going to put similar research and findings. So what did other people find on the same question or a similar question? Like the 5 themes that we gathered literature for yesterday, maybe separately those were explored, and so you have like 4 or 5 of those that have their own body of literature that you're going to put in your literature review, and you're going to state their findings. And then any other theories or models, so maybe you want to put in there for the methodology you're going to use. For your analysis, you're going to put in something to relate to, you know, your problem, the research study that you're conducting, or the research question that you're hoping to answer. Okay, so then you're going to have your methodology here. It's going to include any kind of, well, we're not going to do a necessarily pilot study. Does any of you know what a pilot study is? Doesn't have anything to do with flying or anything like that, but the idea is if you're going to pursue an experimental study, so I could probably take this out because you guys are not going to conduct experiment per se. You're not going to do, um, you're not going to collect primary data, right? We're going to be using secondary, already collected data somebody has either cleaned or made available to us. But a pilot is just taking a sample of like 100 subjects or 100 firms. So you could do it if you collected data from Bloomberg on 100 firms and you just wanted to check to see how the variables that you collect on them relate to each other. And then actually you want to study 1,000 firms or more. Okay, so a pilot study is just a smaller study to look at relationships. And you can understand if you're going to pursue a large experiment, you want to make sure and get all the kinks out of, your survey questions or you want to be able to collect the data properly if it's going to involve measurement. If you're going to measure things, you want to make sure your instruments are working. You want to see how everything works. So you do a smaller study to do that. So I'm going to erase that because we're not going to do that. So you're going to talk about your subjects, your materials and procedure, any data that you collect or where you got it from, your analysis, the software you're going to use to conduct your analysis. Usually you have to put the version of the software. If you used AI, all that stuff would go in here. Okay, you would be transparent about what you did in your study. Maintaining confidentiality criteria for coding. Okay, so if you had human subjects, confidentiality, that might not come up at all, or won't come up at all probably. Criteria for coding. So you're going to create new variables from old variables, so you're going to have to mention there how you did that. So anyway, those are just some suggestions again for methods or methodology. Results will have your results. If you have stated many hypotheses, you're going to mention them here and what you found out. And the important thing to say is the results are just the results. You don't talk about it, what you think about it. You just dum. And then here you talk about the findings. You talk about the results and explain it. And you might introduce more literature and say, these guys found this, but I found this. This is where you talk about it. So you reconciling differences between your findings and the status quo findings, what people found before you, or the consensus was, or the meta-analysis of all those other papers was before you. Any kinds of speculations that you might have, and then maybe limitations for your research and what you might do in the future or what you recommend people pursue in the future. And then in the conclusions, you don't say anything new, you summarize, and that's it. And that's how it works. And you're going to see that pattern as you read papers. That's how they appear. You can leave, usually I like to put tables in the body of the paper, but you can leave that to the end with any kinds of figures. I don't imagine you're going to have too many figures. And any references, and if there's any appendices, any other thing you think doesn't fit in the paper, but you want to keep it in the, like, as part of the document, you put it there. Okay, so I'm going to erase this. So a maximum of 35. I say maximum, or I'm going to say 30 to 35. Double space pages. That's what it's going to look like. All right. So that's where you guys are heading. Again, I'm going to put that in the notes and clean it up a bit to make it perfectly relevant for the kind of thing you're doing. And keep me informed if you feel like you're unsure about where we're heading with this, because we're doing it piece by piece and you may not see the big picture. I'm trying to help you see home base. All right. Questions for me? Comments? So tomorrow we're going to talk about regression. If you have any questions about your papers that you're reading, anything, keep me posted, right? Our time is tight, so we we should use the time as effectively as we can. And probably some students have the same questions as others. All right, so I'm going to put up the revised Excel spreadsheet. You guys can download it. Hopefully it doesn't throw off what you've done so far. I just clarified a few of the columns. And that's it. So have a good day. Good luck. See you tomorrow.
Have a good one. Good day.
Bye.
Thank you.